knock Kevin Durant for believing it. Durant, he should believe he's one of the best
ever. He should believe that, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure all the guys that play in the NBA believe they're the best player in the world. So I don't knock him for that. But my issue is if people start to really take this serious as, yeah, he should be in the GOAT conversation. I mean, I don't even think LeBron should be in the GOAT conversation. LeBron to me is not top 5 all time. Some people say LeBron's number 2 all time. Some people say LeBron's number 1. I don't think he's top 5. I don't think Kobe's top 5. I don't even think Kobe's barely top 10. And the reason why I don't think LeBron is top 5 is because I don't get excited over, oh, he's about to get 40,000 points and he got all these threes and all that stuff. Look, the game of basketball is a lot different today. The rules are different. It's easier for guys to score. I mean, most guys can score 25 a night now. Guys are taking 25 threes a game. So if you make a bunch of them, all you gotta do is, if you make 30% of your threes and you're taking 10 a night, that's 3. You go 3 for 10 from downtown on average. You could literally shoot. If you shot 30% from 3 back in the days, you wouldn't be on the floor. You wouldn't be allowed to take the shot. You wouldn't get a chance to take more than a couple threes, right? Think about it. Because going 1 for 3 is 33%, which is considered okay. It was about average. To shoot 30%, so you'd have to go less than that. Think about it. To shoot 30%, if a guy back in the day shot 25%, if he made 1 out of every 4, go 1 for 4, that's 25%, right? That's not a good percentage. But today, if a guy could literally shoot 3 for 10 from 3, and that would be considered decent because of so many shots he takes. He'll get 10 tries to make 3 and then chucking up shots like it's no tomorrow. This era is unwatchable. If you look at the game, these guys are carrying on every possession. They're walking, they're traveling, they're doing all kind of stuff. They're not calling it because the NBA wants the excitement. They want the big score. They want the threes. You could just turn a random game on the TV and see these guys just standing around waiting for the shot, waiting for the penetration so they can shoot the 3. It's just not a good product. It's really not. But when I discuss NBA GOAT conversation, I start with the era. That's my first starting point, is the era of the game of basketball. In my opinion, anybody playing today or in the last 10 years or even 15 should not be considered in a GOAT conversation or in the top 5 discussion. So I go to the last 10 years. You played in the last 10 years in the NBA. Well, you should not be seriously considered in a top 5 at any position. I don't care what position it is. I don't care if it's top 5 centers all time, top 5 power forwards, top 5 small forwards, top 5 2 guards, point guards. No player today, no player that's played in the last 10 years in their prime, in the last 10 years of their career, at any point, because you have to take this era for what it is. It's a joke. So for you to, I'm not going to bump off an all-time great in my top 5 list for some joke era player. It's not going to happen. The only way that I would consider it, you would need to be spectacular in your era. Like, own the era. Like, you need to go on a Michael Jordan type run where you won 6 of 8 titles, 6 titles in a decade. You would need to go on something like that. You would need to go on a Bill Russell type run for me to say, you know what, okay, even though the era is kind of weak, but you did win almost every year. You dominated the era. You were the best player in the league throughout the whole decade, throughout your whole time, and you won. I would take you serious for a top 5 at that point. But I'm not going to do it. These guys, LeBron, supposed to be the best player in the world throughout his whole time. Some people say he was the best player in the world since like 05, 06, whatever. But he didn't win a lot. He played in a weak Eastern Conference and still didn't win as many rings as he should have. Think about it. This guy should have had at least 6 rings by now. If he was as good as advertised, 6, 7 rings. If he was this great all-time GOAT status. And I want to hear yes, he beat the 73-win Warriors team. Now, highly, I'm talking about, that team was so overrated, it's not even funny. Overrated. They're not an all-time great team. They're not up there with the Celtics, the Bulls, Even the early 2000 Lakers, who had tougher runs to the finals than Golden State. And I think those early 2000 Lakers teams weren't all that either. They had Shaq. They weren't all that. But they played in a tougher conference. Those early 2000 Lakers teams with 6-7 teams in the West won 50 games. Those tough road to the finals. Now when they got to the finals, New Jersey twice, Philadelphia, no resistance. The NBA helped them in 2001 or 2002 when Sacramento should have been out. But the GOAT conversation needs to be, you got to start with ever first. And that everybody listening is going to be different, because if you're a young person today, or maybe you're an old head who likes the new form of basketball, you may think this era is great. You may think this is the best era ever. If you view it that way, then you probably will have LeBron in your top 2 or even number 1, right? To me, I believe that the best era in league history is the Bird Magic beginning all the way through 80s up until the mid 90s, the mid to late 90s. I think the cutoff point is probably about 98 when Jordan's last Bulls championship, and then it kind of picks back up in the 2000 era a little bit. Like the Western Conference was pretty good. The East was really bad in the early 2000s. They were really bad, and that by the time I got to the late 2000s, going into 2010, all the great guys from the 90s in the late 90s, early 2000s, they all got old. It was almost over. So, great individual players, yes, but it wasn't a large, deep collective of talent. It wasn't like the great eras of the NBA. I just think that the 80s, 90s was probably the cream of the crop of the NBA. That's why a lot of those records are still standing, right? John Stockton. Nobody's catching Stockton. Even in the era that is a lot more wide open and a lot more weaker, nobody's catching Stockton in assists and steals. They're not catching him. So that's how I look at it. And do I value, and necessarily, I know people like to make their list based off of titles. I think every single player you have to judge them differently based on, some people will get more credit for winning titles. Some players won't. Like John Stockton, to me, didn't win a title. The guy played for a long time. He was consistently great throughout his whole career. Was consistently one of the best point guards in the league throughout his whole career. He was typically 1, 2, or 3. Right? So when I look at the point guard list, I'm like, yeah, Curry's got a bunch of rings. So he's played in a very weak era. So to me, I don't put Curry with Stockton. I like Stockton. I like Isaiah Thomas. Obviously, Oscar Robertson is going to be there. Magic Johnson is probably number 1. And then you got, and me personally, I like Jason Kidd. Because Kidd didn't win until he got old in Dallas. But Kidd was consistently, in his prime, was probably one of the best, not the best point guard, all-around point guard in basketball. Guy who could facilitate offense. Guy was a great rebounder. He took the Nets to back-to-back NBA titles. And granted, it wasn't a weak East, but Jason Kidd being the best player on New Jersey. And then this is a guy who wasn't really a great shooter at this point. He proved it later on, but he wasn't like an offensive guy. Everyone brags about Iverson's playoff run with Philadelphia, but I think Jason Kidd's finals run in that same Eastern Conference is probably more impressive than Allen Iverson's run. Allen Iverson had the Defensive Player of the Year, he had the Sixth Man of the Year, the Coach of the Year. Jason Kidd, I think he did more, and with his 2 back-to-back titles. Going back-to-back to the finals, even in the weak East, because that New Jersey team wasn't like the great team. You take Kidd off that team probably wins like 10 games. That's how great Jason Kidd was. But I find it funny that people would try to big up, oh, look what Iverson went to the finals with Harry McKee, Mutombo Hall of Famer. How many Hall of Famers did Jason Kidd take was on that Nets team with Jason Kidd? Come on. Iverson, Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame center, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, solid defensive team. Jason Kidd carried New Jersey. He carried them. So, I don't know. I think Jason Kidd gets, it sucks that he didn't win in his prime. He didn't win. So he gets punished for that. But I still value him more, in my opinion, because of how well he was. I know people say, "Oh, Steve Nash is better than Kidd. He won 2 MVPs." Steve Nash won MVPs. I get it. He did. Steve Nash also had a better team than Jason Kidd. I mean, you take Jason Kidd with that Phoenix team that Steve Nash had, they won 60 games too. I'm not taking anything away from Steve Nash. Steve Nash is all-time great. He won 2 MVPs in a, in a different type of era. But I think Jason Kidd's came in a much tougher basketball era, right? Mid 90s to 2000s. I think Jason Kidd, to me, is a hero above the others. I mean, Gary Payton, another one that was pretty damn good. So a lot of really good point guards that you can go through and decide who's better, who's not. And then with 2 guards, people got Kobe. They think Kobe's number 2. He's not. Kobe, to me, is obviously it's gonna be Michael, Jerry West. I know some people say Jerry West is a point guard, 2 guard. Jerry West is a 2 guard, has 1 and 2 right there. Number 3, Clyde Drexler. Over Kobe, yes. Clyde didn't have Shaq, and I think Clyde Drexler gets overlooked. Clyde Drexler played in the heart of the tough competition era with Michael Jordan. He's above Kobe on the 2 guard list. And you can go, I guess Kobe can be number 4. Some people say Dwayne Wade, but I think Wade had too many injuries. If Wade would have been healthy, he probably would be above Kobe. But I'll do Kobe number 4 on that. I think Kobe at number 4. No problem. And then 5, you can go, I don't know, Wade maybe, and said last 10 years, not prime 10 years, no top 5. Kobe would be an exception for the 2 guard spot, obviously, because Kobe did play from 96 on. So I think the closest you would get to a current player or fictional player for like last 10-15 years would be like Kobe or even D Wade. But I say Kobe, and then there's probably someone else I have to think of. And then small forward, which is the big controversial one, I like Larry Bird as the number 1 small forward in basketball all time. Larry Bird. And it seems like there's a Bird will disagree, of course. Bird has been on stage. Bird has talked about LeBron being great. He's one of the best, and he's not going to big himself up. But Larry Bird, I'm taking Bird over LeBron. I don't care how many years LeBron played in. Bird played in a tougher era. It was very effective. A near career triple-double. And Bird played inside and out, right? What is LeBron really great at offensively? He's a great facilitator at his position. But he's more athletic than Bird, I give him that. But is the gap that much wider? No. And because I value athleticism and, oh my God, he could jump. Think about this. Just take both players equally and take away the athleticism and take away the dunks. Take away the body type. Because I think a lot of times people look at LeBron's body and then they got Larry Bird's body. He's like just, a white guy, unathletic. And then you go, oh, it's LeBron without a doubt. Because people are afraid to say Larry Bird is better because it's just the same thing. Like Larry Bird to me is getting like the Tom Brady treatment. Remember when Tom Brady first got drafted? They see his body, oh, look at this guy, he can't be great. And then Tom Brady goes on to win 7 Super Bowls. Larry Bird's getting that same type of treatment in the NBA because you look at Bird and he doesn't look like he would be like the average kid today. So Larry Bird walking down the street, we said, hey, this guy saved the NBA. Those kids were like, huh? That guy? Looks like a bird, right? That's how they would see it. Like no kid today, nobody under 20 would believe that if you saw Larry Bird walking down the street, that guy was an NBA great. He doesn't look the part. And I think that plays a part of it. I really do. But Bird to me is number 1. He is number 1 on this one. He's legitimately, forget about KD. Bird is in the GOAT conversation. If we're being realistic, if we're being honest, Bird is in the GOAT conversation. He should be. And LeBron's number 2. And then number 3, I guess you can go like Abdul-Jabbar, right? Abdul-Jabbar. And number 4, you could probably go, some people say James Worthy, some people say Dominique. Oh, no, sorry, excuse me. Not Baylor's 4. Dr. J is number 3, excuse me. Dr. J, sorry. Almost forget about the Doc. I'll put LeBron above Doc, but because, Doc is number 3. And then Baylor 4, and then 5, you can Neek or you can Gerv, and you can kind of make up what you want from that point, right? But and then power forwards, the discussion with that is about like who's it? Is it Barkley? Is McHale? Is it Duncan? Malone? I mean, there's a long list of guys that played in that era, that 80s, 90s era, but none of the new school guys are on this list. If you notice, they're not close. The only guys that are close to the new school guys is LeBron and maybe Kobe. But without the power forwards, yeah, Tim Duncan might be the other guy. So LeBron, Kobe, and Tim Duncan, for the guys that are played in the last 15 years, would be considered on these top 5 lists. So Duncan is on the top 5 power forward list. He's arguably the greatest power forward. You can go Duncan. I mean, this is no list. This is no order for me. This is just me throwing it out there. Duncan, Malone, Karl Malone, Duncan, Barkley, of course. So that Duncan, Malone, Barkley, McHale. I think McHale gets overlooked. One of the best post players ever. And then another guy, I'm trying to think, power forwards. I don't know. There's no one there somewhere. Just maybe Garnett, maybe? I don't know. I mean, you could come up with guys. But, and then centers, which is another controversial one because some people say Wilt, Kareem. Kareem definitely on that list. Bill Russell probably is on there as some, right? I don't think Bill's 1 or 2 because I'm factoring in Bill played in every week 60, so that Wilt would be number 1. And then you can go Wilt, Russell, or you can go Wilt, Shaq, Russell. I don't know. I don't think Shaq is, in my opinion, on that list. Well, he might be 5, but I have to really think about it. I mean, there's a lot of great centers. Hakeem Olajuwon is above Shaq, in my opinion. Yes. Hakeem didn't play with Hakeem. Remember, Hakeem comes in the league, right? Second year in the league, he's in the NBA Finals, like right away. And then he doesn't get back there until like the mid-90s when he wins 2 back-to-back titles and one of the best playoff runs ever. I mean, Shaq never had a run like that. Shaq's always played with talent. I mean, Shaq's played on a lot of teams with a lot of talent. To me, I think Shaquille O'Neal underachieved because he played with All-Star after All-Star after All-Star. I mean, he came to the Lakers with 3 All-Stars. And throughout that up until they finally won a title, that 3-year stretch where they got beat up by San Antonio, by Utah, they would get swept. Where Shaq was supposed to be this big prize free agent, 7-year contract, and play with other All-Stars. And he can't say, oh, because Kobe he was still young. I mean, Shaq played with 2 other All-Stars, not named Kobe. Kobe was young, developed. But, so Shaq underachieved. He had a very short, dominant period with the Lakers. I'm saying very short. Like when he was like, when the Lakers were like winning titles, and then it kind of fizzed off. After things went bad, Shaq, I'm out of here. 04, he's gone. Goes to Miami, helps the Heat win, but he wasn't the best player on Miami. He wasn't even the number 2 best player. I think Antoine Walker was the second leading scorer behind Dwayne Wade, who got like 1 million free throws. So Shaq's great, all-time great player, but overrated. So you factor all that in, Hakeem is above Shaq. He just is. Because when I try to grade you, I want to know what you were great. Who did you play with? How much help did you have? How much talent did you have on your team? You take all those factors in, you have to factor those in. Hakeem is above Shaq. He just is. And you could literally just find, I mean, there was so many great centers back then. One of the better positions during that era of the 90s, 80s was the big man. The big man ran the league. So Hakeem is definitely there. You could probably put Hakeem behind Kareem and Wilt if you want. But I know some people back, the older crew will say George Mikan, some other guys back then. I don't know those guys. So I was trying to stick to what I kind of know. Right? I know Kareem. I really like Hakeem Olajuwon. I think Hakeem Olajuwon is legitimate a top 3 center of all time. Top 2, 3 center of all time. To me, he's above Shaq. He's above Shaq. I know Shaq had that longer stretches of dominance. Shaq was the most dominant force for about a handful of years. I get it. But Shaq played with a lot of talent and didn't take advantage. And you say, well, that's crazy. He's got 4 rings. He should have more. Him and Kobe alone should have had about 8 rings. If Shaq was really serious, he would have had 8 rings. Easily. But he wasn't. He was okay with 3. He could have dominated. If Shaq would have dominated like he was supposed to, he would be in the GOAT conversation. He would. But he didn't. So, the GOAT conversation is always going to be... There's really no right or wrong answer, I guess. Because like I said, you start with the era. Any true conversation needs to start with the era. If I'm having a GOAT debate with somebody, first thing I say is, what era do you think is the best of all time? Then you will know where that conversation goes. Like I said, depending on who you talk to an older person, they may say 80s was the best. You talk to a guy who loves this era, they may tell you today's game is the best. They'd be completely out of their mind, but they will tell you that. So it depends on who you have in that conversation with. So you gotta take that into consideration. There's really no right or wrong answer, I guess, because it's all opinion at the end of the day. I think the most right answer across the board is probably Michael Jordan is the GOAT, but even that is not 100% certain, right? Because some people will have Kareem as the GOAT. So even the Jordan being the GOAT is not 100%. Like I said, Kareem could be the GOAT, depending on who you ask. So I don't know. That's just how I look at it. Some people say Bird's the GOAT. So you go to a Larry Bird chat room or Larry Bird chat board, and they'll say Bird's the GOAT. Some people might say Magic's the GOAT. Me, not really, but anyway. Well, so yeah, that's just how it goes. It's complete different. It's a different type, but I think it's a wide consensus that Jordan is the greatest of all time, right? Widespread. That might be the only certainty of the whole GOAT debate, of the great basketball debate, is that Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time.